What's up, everybody? This is Brett Skynes with Fuel.
What's up? This is Carl Bell from Fuel, and this is Launch.
That's where we're going to be. You know, making the Sunburn album was, we were a new band when it came to dealing with working with a producer, and then you have this guy over here who's going to mix your record and things like that. So at that time, you've got all these people around you that have been in the business for years and years, and they've got all these gold and platinum records on their walls, and you think to yourself, okay, obviously they know something that I don't. So you put a lot of trust into these people to try to help you to make the best record that you can. So I think there were a lot of times there that we kind of questioned ourselves, and we didn't do what we would have normally done in certain situations because we were talked into using other ideas or whatnot. So I think it kind of bit us on the butt, and we regret it. And this time, with the Something Like Human album, we kind of held the reins a lot more tighter than we did on the first album, and we didn't question ourselves so much. And we took in the ideas that people like such as Ben Gross, who produced and mixed the Something Like Human album, we took his ideas in, and a lot of times we used his ideas. But if we didn't feel right about them, we stayed true to ourselves, and then we said, no, this is what we want. And the bottom line was we were just trying to make the best record that we could for ourselves, above and beyond everything else. We wanted Ben to be happy with what was coming out too, but for the bottom line was it's our album, and Ben knew that. And that's, in the beginning we sat down with Ben and he said, look, the bottom thing is, I'm here to help you guys make the best record that you can. We want you to be happy with this 10 years from now. And that was a very cool thing when it came to working with Ben Gross on this record. I don't think that we're one of those bands that are just so testosterone induced. We don't write heavy songs just for the sake of trying to get a mosh pit. Hopefully the music is aggressive enough that it'll do that anyhow. And then well, not to say that I'm promoting mosh pits or anything, but hopefully the kids will want to hear the music and get the aggressive side of our music out in however they want to react to it. But it's not like we're trying to go into that vein and we're trying to force ourselves into going, okay, we got to get this to be a testosterone type of sound. We're very true to ourselves, and we're very we try to make ourselves very melodic to a degree. We love melodies. And that's the key to any great song, as far as I'm concerned, is you got to have a huge melody and huge hook. And at the same time, we try to make ourselves very guitar driven at the same time. There was actually one night, we had a night off. It was the night before a show we were doing. I can't remember exactly what city it was that we were in. I think maybe in Florida or something like that, somewhere in one of those cities. But and I'm sitting in my hotel room one night and just kind of relaxing, and then I hear this loud music right outside of my window. And I stop and I go to pull up the window and everything. I look outside, and these kids had set up their band and everything right outside of my window. And we're playing songs outside of my window, trying to get on our gig for that next night. And I mean, it was, first off, it was like, how did they know where we were staying, much less what my room was? And second off, they're gonna just set up and play a few songs for me, trying to get on the gig. So unfortunately, at that time, we couldn't get them on the show, but I did hook them up with passes and everything to get into the gig. So it was pretty strange, though. It's kind of cool, though.
For this record, I mean, the first record was just so... We lost our drummer going right into the studio, and that was bad. I've known the drummer since I've been with him forever, and it was kind of our dream together to get signed, and lost the drummer right out of the gate, and it really just kind of blew the vibe of the whole record. And I was kind of working under a black cloud that whole time then, and I don't think we took enough time to like get the album exactly like we wanted it. And so this record, we wanted to make sure, you know, we after living with the record, the first record, the way it was, we wanted to make sure we got this record as closer to the vision of who we wanted it to sound like. And I think the sonic landscape is much more in depth. I think just the songwriting in general is better. The performance in general is better. And I just think we made a big step forward with this record for us. And it's basically just because we wanted to take more control, and were, you know, hell bent to take more control, and we weren't going to let anything else, wasn't going to let anything else get past that. And we had Ben Gross, who produced it with us, who was really cool, and he let us, you know, he would defer to us, dude, it's your album, you know what I mean? And which is awesome for him to do as well. And we didn't have a lot of fights on which direction songs should go, you know. It was like we kind of had parallel instincts on a lot of songs. And so I think it just, for me, this whole record is just, it's a relief, because the last record was such a chore and it still didn't turn out the way we wanted it. And we just got a little bit closer on this and what we wanted to sound like. I think Fuel is not, you know, that our record doesn't sound like, you know, Limp Bizkit is kind of the point, you know? I mean, we didn't want, I like music from the 70s, man. I like bands from the 70s where Queen put out a record, or The Who, or the Led Zeppelin, and you knew who it was, you know? It wasn't, who is that band? Because they all sound the same, you know? And I like stuff that's, you know, that you can, that's a little more, has a little more identity maybe. And I mean, when we first put out the first single, Hemorrhage, we were scared, because it was like, I listened to radio, I was like, man, ain't nothing on the radio sounds quite like this at this point, you know? I mean, it's a lot of rap, rock, and stuff like that. And so we were a little nervous about it, you know, the string section on Hemorrhage, and it's a little more complex than what was on radio right then, or right now. And so we were a little worried about, you know, not sounding like everybody else at the time. And but at the same time, glad, you know. And I think it's worked out for the best for us. I think that's why the song's had a lot of the success it has, is because it's not so, it doesn't sound like everybody else. But I mean, there's places for rap, rock, and all that stuff, and I enjoy that kind of stuff as well. And I mean, and we have our harder side as well. But I mean, we tried not to sound exactly like everybody else. You know, that's the point. When we first got started, everything's a lot, you know, is new. When we were first touring, we were opening for Aerosmith. And myself and the bass player grew up in a tiny little, you know, 2-stoplight town, and just the flashing kind, not the, you know, just like nothing, man. And he and I grew up together, used to ride our bikes up to each other's house with the guitars strapped on our backs and all this, you know, and we had all the hit parader with Aerosmith and all that stuff. So now, fast forward, whatever, 10, 15 years, and now we're opening for Aerosmith. And I just remember one night I look over and I see Brett, and he's singing, and I look over and I see Jeff, who I grew up with, and I look past him and I see Joe Perry, Steven Tyler side of the stage watching us play. And it was just one of those times where, like, time stands still for a second and you just kind of have a moment. It was really, really cool. And it's just one of those times you kind of, a lot of things you do on the road is like life in a bubble, and reality is not, it's like reality is pushed away. And that was one time where it kind of comes back to you and you go, this is really happening. And it's kind of, for a moment, it was almost tangible, you know?